Good afternoon, or still morning actually, to everyone, and thank you for joining us here and online. I'd like to recognize a few people that I see that are in attendance today. Representative Smith from our Indiana State House, thank you for coming today. There's also Pastor Chester Jones, who's representing the Baptist Minister Conference. Pastor, thank you for coming as well. I don't see any other elected officials or dignitaries, but around the room, I want to let you know that this is a great day and that there's several representatives of the Indiana State Police Force, as well as our very own Gary Police Department. And I want to thank you all for coming out again today. Over the last 2 weeks, we've certainly had a lot of announcements about developments that are going on in the city of Gary, and today is like those that we've experienced in the last 2 weeks. Today, we're going to announce a new partnership with the Indiana State Police. And since the beginning of this administration, we've made it clear that one of our top priorities is public safety. Today, we make another effort at enhancing and building on the progress that we've made thus far. Nearly 2 years ago, Brian Evans was appointed as the interim chief of the Gary Police Department, and he led our department at a time when there were certainly more questions than answers from the administration's perspective, but also at a time when we all here in Gary and across the country faced a historic pandemic. Brian jumped in head first and didn't ask any questions. And to that extent, I'm certainly grateful for the work that he did throughout the pandemic, but as well as dealing with a couple of other issues that we had to deal with here locally. Brian is certainly going to continue to be an integral part of this process, as well as the Gary Police Department, and I've asked that he help us and assist us with this selection process of looking for a new police chief and conducting a station-wide search. I need to mention that this process will certainly be open to all Gary police officers, as well as anyone outside of the agency who expressed interest in becoming a chief. When I shared this plan with Brian, he was very understanding and he agreed to stay on and help us conduct a search. But I believe his willingness to assist, as well as continue to help in the Gary Police Department on a daily basis as he has done, demonstrates his overall commitment to the city of Gary, to the people of Gary, certainly to his family, and to the job at hand. And for that, I thank Brian, and I am gratefully appreciative of all of his efforts. For the next 120 days, or 90 to 120 days, Chief Evans is going to work closely with Indiana State Police Major Jerry Williams, who will serve as a consultant to the Gary Police Department. Also, as a part of this new partnership, Major Williams will team up to conduct a thorough review of all policies of Gary police operations at our department, and that review will take a deep dive into standard operating procedures, our police department internal organization structure, investigative procedures, training, evidentiary, inventory, and fiscal accountability. Superintendent Carter speaks very highly of Major Williams, as do many of his colleagues, and many people right here in the community. And that's because Major Williams is a product of Gary, having been born right here in Gary, Indiana, and also attending school here. In addition, the superintendent has repeatedly said that the Indiana State Police will employ any resource that we need, including experts, subject matter experts, and additional resources to the city of Gary to make this task successful. We all know that this is a major commitment by the city of Gary, Gary Police Department, and certainly the ISP, and we look forward to beginning it immediately. Our number one priority, as I continue to mention, is public safety, and we want to employ all the resources and expertise that we can to ensure that we provide the very best environment for not only our residents, but for our officers also. In a lot of ways, you may think when you see all of these officers and you think of some of the things that have happened in the past that this is specifically about crime, and it's not. Although crime is an element and continues to be across the country in many cities, our number one focus is providing the very best atmosphere for not only our residents, but especially for our police officers. They believe, and we believe rather, they deserve the best of equipment, the best environment to work in, and certainly the greatest of support that they can obtain from all resources available. But let's be clear, no one should expect to see troopers running up and down the street, arresting folks and giving tickets, an exercise that occurred, I believe, some years ago in 1995. This is not that. This is an attempt to take a deep, holistic look at our operations in the police department, come up with a plan, and to implement that plan. Lastly, I need to mention that this isn't the first time that this has been discussed. I believe in 2006 and then again in 2013, there were 2 independent assessments conducted. All of the recommendations given to the Gary Police Department, and it's my understanding that perhaps there may have been some starts, but there were certainly also stops in those recommendations. This is a new effort to not only take a look at those recommendations, but those that came from our very own Police Reform Commission. But not only look at those recommendations, establish a plan, a clear-cut, concise plan that takes us to the next level. And that's what we're here for today. I want to thank Superintendent Carter, who I failed to mention and acknowledge. Thank you for your assistance, sir. Certainly Major Williams for all of your help, and of course, Chief Evans. Without any further delay, I'd like to introduce Chief Evans. Thank you.
Good morning. It is certainly an honor to have served as the Chief of Police of the City of Gary and the Gary Police Department during our tenure here. I'm very proud of the work that has been accomplished with improving our technology base and improving our recruiting efforts. We plan to utilize this opportunity in partnership with the state police to enhance those efforts, to basically look at our technological efforts and improve them in every aspect. I've called it in several conferences playing small ball. When you become smaller, you have to work smarter, and this is an opportunity to use all of the resources of the state to affect that change. Also to look at our policies, which I believe can be changed in some ways, and having a different eye on that will be a way to achieve some of the goals that we've been working toward for a long time. I also want to thank the mayor and the administration for giving me the opportunity to serve as chief, to be the head of the department during the trying times of the COVID expansion and epidemic, and the things that have gone on the past 2 years. I look forward to working with Superintendent Carter and Major Williams to effect this change and to make the transition as smooth as possible.
Guess this is my turn again. So now I'd like to introduce Superintendent of State Police, Doug G. Carter. Mr. Carter.
Mayor, thank you very, very much. This day is extraordinarily special to me for so many different reasons, and I'm not going to take a lot of time to talk about that today, but I do want to say to you that after May 20th of 2020, life changed for policing in America, as it should have. And this gave us a tremendous opportunity to really take a step back and understand what we're doing and why, and not for ourselves, but for our citizens. That's what this is about. If anyone thinks the service is about themselves, they've probably chosen the wrong profession. But I see tremendous opportunity here now. And again, as we've learned over the last couple of years, I realize that none of us have enough people. None of us have enough people, no matter what agency. And I can tell you, being the superintendent of the state police, it's a long way from South Bend to Evansville, and Richmond to Terre Haute, and everything in between. And the things that happen in the course of any day in this state that I follow very, very closely would rock the conscience of a good person and a good soul. It's really, really ugly out there. And collectively, I think it's amazing what we'll be able to accomplish. And that's what this is all about. We don't have all of the answers, but I'm willing to commit a tremendous amount of our assets and of our resources to maybe help the city of Gary along the way. My dad was a state trooper out of the Dunes Park Post many years ago. And I still remember in the late 60s, it was a big deal to come over here. I can still remember it very vividly in my mind, what that experience was like. And I fast forward then almost 40 or 45 years, I'm giving away my age a little bit. But about a month and a half or 2 months ago, when the mayor first approached us, I flew in and we landed a helicopter right outside of Gary City Hall. I wish every single one of you could have been with me, because the last time I was up here, the old hotel was here on the south side of this building. But as that helicopter came in and started to land, I looked out and I saw tremendous opportunity. Why? Because of this green space and what happened when that building was destroyed and taken down and removed. And I told the mayor and the deputy mayor and everybody else, I can't wait to come back up here and get you up in the sky and let you see it. And what that convinced me of is maybe the way to do this is from the inside out. So we sat and talked in great detail with the mayor and with his staff, and I committed a tremendous number of resources, and I will continue to do that. I'm not sure how we're going to get that done, but we will get it done internally to support you and to support this city, but most importantly, to support the city's citizens. So as we move forward, you should not anticipate a lot of public comment from us until we understand the magnitude of what we're going to do in collaboration with those officers at the city of Gary. So we will be collaborative, we will be direct, we'll be very honest, and we'll be very objective. Those are the things I can assure you that we will absolutely do. At 120 days, we're not just going to leave, or 90 days, or whatever that time frame is. It's fluid. And I hope what will happen is that the members of the city of Gary and the members of the city administration will have developed relationships with us. So even though might not be here every single day like we will be for the coming months, but you'll have access to us. That's what I think the state of Indiana should provide to our local citizens and to our local communities, that support network and function that will allow us to stand apart and entertain that collaboration. It's amazing what happens when we sit at a table and talk with one another. It's really hard to hate up close. And I've realized over these last several years that I need to do a better job myself and what I represent, getting into local communities and at dining room tables and living rooms, and specifically with people that don't look like me. And I'm more than willing to do that. It's really, really important. As I sunset in my career, I don't want to look back and think I had an opportunity there and I missed it. Everybody that you see dressed like me today, in whether the Gary PD uniform or the state police uniform, is willing to die for someone that hates who they are. Those words are so very, very important to me. So I hope that we'll be welcomed. I hope that there's no alternative measure here. We're not trying to do anything to benefit, or certainly ourselves. The service that we have and that we will give to you and all of the support services that we have are for you. They are for you. So there'll be a lot of collaboration as we move forward. As I close, I want to talk a little bit about the guy standing to my right, Major Jerry Williams. I've been the superintendent of the state police now almost 10 years, and it seems like it's been about 40. But it's been the most awesome, awesome decade of my life. And I just got to meet such extraordinary people. And there is not a better example of that than this guy standing to my right. I'd crawl across hot ashes with no legs for him because of his level of unselfishness and his commitment to others and trying to make a difference in this world. And he does it every single day. His responsibilities with the state police are immense. But now we've added this to it. And I remember talking to Jerry and I asked him, I said, is this the right thing for you to do? And he said to me, if it's not him, if it's not us, then who? And if it's not now, then when? So although he's able to squeeze 20 hours into every single day and sometimes somehow rest, he's willing to do this because this is his city. He grew up here. He raised his family here. So there's a lot of there's some real personal issues that are at stake here, and I hope you'll welcome us. I've told the mayor multiple times, if there's a group of people, 1, 2, 5,000, it doesn't matter to me. Just let me know when, and I'll be here. Because we're not always going to agree. It's hard to hate up close, as I mentioned, and I'm more than willing to sit down and debate very respectfully what this all looks like, what we're doing and why, and what's the anticipated outcome. That's my hope, and I appreciate the members of the City of Gary PD for the extraordinary things that you do and that happen in this city every single day, and I'm looking forward to the partnership. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to not only Major Jerry Williams, but my friend Major Jerry Williams.
I must tell you that first and foremost, Mayor, to you and your staff, Chief, and you and your staff, obviously the superintendent, and I'd be remiss not to even include the governor in this support to bring these resources back to our community. This is personal to me, obviously it is. I grew up here. I still call this home. Any of you that have ever watched me testify at a legislative function, when I state my name, I state where I'm from, I state where I am proudly as a Gary resident. And that still residents, that word means something to me, and it matters. My kids raised up here. I got 3 of my 4 sons are all in law enforcement as well too. So it means something to us, and an opportunity here to do something bigger than ourselves. And that's what this is about. An opportunity to leverage resources on a state and hopefully maybe even a national level to just do a small part or a small piece to help our own communities within the state of Indiana. As the superintendent mentioned, this is what we should be about anyway as a state police organization, is to be able to find ways to help out the communities that we're responsible for. And so did I take some liberties to make sure that my own hometown was included in that process? Absolutely, we did. So our goal here is to do just that. There's no alternative motives or anything like that. This is unlike 1995. Any of you that were here in 1995, you know, we marched 50-plus troopers into the city, and yeah, we took a whole lot of people to jail, but I would offer to you that most of us looking back on that time that we're here realize that that wasn't the most productive process. It was well intended, but it wasn't the best process. I'm excited about this process, and that's the reason why I'm involved in it. And when the mayor came to us and then we began to dialogue on this whole process, this didn't happen in a vacuum. I mean, this is several hours and several weeks of discussions of how the best way to impact the community, how is the best way to impact the police department in a very small way. How can we do that? And so we put a lot of thought into that whole process. I commend this gentleman standing to my left, Chief Evans. We've met now on a few different occasions, and he has been the constant professional. And to me, that speaks volume to the characters of the Gary Police Department. Obviously, growing up here, I did most of my trooping here in Lake County. I was the district commander here for about 4 years as well too. So most of the older generation officers with the Gary Police Department were the same folks that not only watched my back, but I had the opportunity and the pleasure to also be there to support and watch their back as well too. So this is home for us. This will be home for this whole process, and collaborative working relationship cannot be understated. This is not 1995. This is today. This process will be more beneficial, and we promise to leave it better than what we found it. And the work that these Gary police officers go out and do every day, it's amazing, because these folks run from call to call, and they are out there in the limelight constantly trying to do their best for the community. And again, to the mayor and his forethought to want to try and expand on that and give more resources and thought processes to the Gary Police Department, to me, I commend you for those thought processes. So thank you.
Mayor, could I have just one moment, please? Absolutely. I sat here and I didn't personally acknowledge Dr. Vernon Smith. Amazing collaboration at the state level, and a guy that can get things done. So who knows where this is going to go, but to think that we won't need state assistance is just probably not very accurate. The U.S. Attorney will be involved, Bernie Carter, the Lake County Prosecutor, will be involved, and will be very collaborative with us as we move forward. But more importantly, with the mayor, is the relationship with the federal resources, with the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Justice programs, and that list could go on and on and on. So this isn't going to be about what it cost. That'll be kind of a backstory. So our approach to this is, what is it that we can do right now to have the most long-term effect? That only comes through the relationships at both the local, state, and the federal level. And those contacts have already started to happen, and they're very, very excited about what we collectively are trying to accomplish. So that's a testament to Mayor Prince.
So that is about the end of that portion of it. You've heard from Superintendent Carter, Major Williams, and Chief Evans, as well as myself. I want to thank Chief Evans and Major Williams again for their willingness to continue to find ways to improve the public safety in our community, the health and the safety. But I believe the majority of the men and women on our police department execute their job in a responsible manner on a daily basis, and I expect that they will continue to do so. But what we also expect is that each and every member of the Gary Police Department, the command staff, as well as all of its rank and file, will join this effort in trying to enhance the overall conditions for everyone. Today, we have a historic opportunity to partner with an agency in that of the Indiana State Police to realize additional resources, but as Superintendent Carter also mentioned, these discussions have gone farther than just the folks associated with the press conference today. The governor, as someone alluded to earlier, we've had discussions with him very early on to get his blessing on this process, and he's supportive 100% of it. We've also reached out to our federal partners, and the point is that although it's unprecedented that we would take this type of approach, it certainly brings with it additional personnel, additional manpower, and more importantly, resources, which ultimately should culminate in a better, more enhanced quality of life for all of our residents, and not to mention our officers as well. So at this particular time, I'll open the floor up to media questions for anyone who has any. Everybody shoot at once. While we're waiting for media questions, I do recognize the presence of our state president, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, right, of the NAACP, Attorney Barbara Bowling. Attorney, thank you for coming out as well today. Are there any questions of media?
No questions, Mayor.
No question? Well, I want to thank you all for coming out and look forward to continuing the progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you.